It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
Good to have you once again on Library Lift from Omobola Stephen. Remember, the podcast Library Lift from Omobola Stephen, the focus on personal development and self-improvement. We occasion expert and professionals, also thought leaders, who come to share disruptive mindset conversations on topics and subjects that are under personal development and self-improvement. We have come to realize with the passage of time the importance of embracing personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives. Now, when we do this consciously, we get to find ourselves along the way. And in finding ourselves, we come to realize there's so much potentials and possibilities that life has in store for us if we don't really give up. Now, the focus and the mission of Library from Omobola Stephen is for you and I to have a transformed mindset, a transformative mindset at the end of the day, so that we can really have a fulfilling life if we don't give up indeed. We pivot and the transformative life that you really want to have, and also changing the world in general in a positive way. Today, I have Louise Mowbray, who is the founder of Mowbray by Design. Now, the company is the Future Focused Leadership Consultancy. Now, Louis specializes in the future of work and the future of leadership. Welcome to the show, Louise Mowbray.
Thank you, Omobola.
Thank you once again for joining me on the show. We will be talking about how we can thrive in our AI-infused world of work, and also talking about the future of work. Such a great topic to discuss, and I know that you have a lot of disruptive mindship you'd like to share with my audience in this regard.
Yeah, it's such an important topic at the moment. Well, I think it's always an important topic. I saw a headline the other day which really made me laugh, and it was about the new future of work. And of course, the future is always new. So it made me chuckle because there's no point in sort of repeating it twice. But yeah, I think that when we think about what the next 10 years, just take the next 10 years, has in store for all of us, we know for sure that there's going to be a lot of change. There's always a lot of change. But I think with the arrival of AI in a way that we can actually engage with, as we've seen over the last couple of years, we're going to see a lot of major shifts in how we work and the types of tools that we have available to all of us. So I think we've got to start thinking a little bit bigger and broader about what the future entails and the role we want to play in it.
Now, still talking about the future of AI, in terms of human employees, how do you foresee AI creating more employment?
Yeah, I think we've got to go up a level almost, because, you know, everybody's concerned about, I mean, I can remember the days when we were talking about robots taking our jobs, and it's fantastic for screaming headlines because, you know, clicks and comments and shares attract advertisers. So we've got to put that aside for a moment, I think, and really sort of question our own roles and our own organizations and ask how we're adapting to an AI-infused future. And if we accept that AI is a part of all of our futures, as it is a part of our present. I mean, we can't get around very far without our phones, or perhaps, I don't know, ordering a takeout or ordering a service online. I mean, there's so much that AI assists us with every single day. So I don't think this fear-mongering about AI, you know, taking away jobs or giving us jobs is really key. Human beings are amazingly adaptable. We adapt and we use whatever tools that come our way to make things better. So I think it's up to each person to have a look at their role and have a look at the future of that role, have a look at the future of their career. What are they aiming for? Where are they going? You know, when I think of the future, one of my favorite tools is something called the Futures Triangle, which is a futures tool. But we can use it in our everyday lives. We can use it in our home lives. We can use it with our families and decision-making in business. And of course, we can use it to have expand on any issue that we're dealing with, opportunity or challenge. And really what we're looking at is the pull of the future at one of those corners of the triangle. What is the enticing part about the future that you want to be part of? What are you aiming for? What can you put an anchor in that you can pull yourself towards? So I think until you've worked out that trajectory for yourself, and of course, we can't know the future. It's not predictable, of course, we know that. But what we can do is we can steer ourselves towards a future that we envisage for ourselves. So as with all disruptive technologies, and I would argue that is this that disruptive as it's been coming for a while and it's already part of our jobs. But as with all technologies, the question is, how do you need to adapt? What skills do you need to learn? Are you better equipped having skills to actually use AI tools today and in the future and keep learning? This is all about constant learning. And how's it going to serve you in the future? Don't do something that's short-sighted. You've got to start thinking a little bit more long-term than we might have done in the past.
Oh, now that's really tough work, Louise, but really, I think it's something we need to be looking forward to indeed, and the kind of conversations, very important conversation we need to be having, especially in terms of technology and embracing the change that it brings along. Now, still talking about AI and also the future of jobs, is there any possibility that AI can replace all the jobs?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think we need, I've got a sort of funny theory about this. I think that the things that human beings are amazing at, the creativity, the innovation, the intuition, be able to dream a dream and do that thing, is something that we need to hone. So we need to start thinking about our technical skills or STEM skills. Certainly if we look at the sort of the way that degrees and college and learning and etc. seem to diverge between humanities and STEM. I think we need both together. I mean, some might argue that in 50 years' time, or 30 years' time, we'll all have a universal income. And, the rest of it will be left to some sort of automation. But I don't think that's in our immediate future. I think that bit by bit, we'll start using tools that actually take away the dull, the boring, the repetitive type of work portion of what we're doing. And it's up to us to learn the skills to actually master the ability to use those capabilities of AI in our jobs to land up with a better result. So I think that this fear-mongering, that as if AI is some conscious dictator somewhere in the background dictating what will happen, is a kind of crazy idea. We need to be very, very clear in our organizations, in our careers, and in our lives. Either the human being is at the center of things, or technology is at the center of things. And for as long as we're living on this planet as human beings, I would argue that human beings are at the center of things. And it's up to us to create systems of intelligent augmentation, IA, where technology serves humanity rather than the other way around. So I think it's a choice. Make a decision, get involved, and make sure it's like that. Or sit on the sidelines and wonder what on earth's going on. So I think there's no need to fear anything. We just need to get involved to see how we can use AI ourselves in our everyday jobs, and also tie it into where we want to go in the future, and make sure that we're learning the skills that we need today so that it'll carry us through.
Oh, and I was talking about learning the skills and the tricks that can help us carry through. And also relating to the future fit, what makes us future fit, and how can we develop these skills or traits and competencies in ourselves? Do you have any strategies that we can apply?
Yeah, definitely. I think that this kind of era that's ahead of us in terms of work is really all about our mental agility and our emotional agility, our flexibility, because things are going to change. Things have always changed, but the pace and the intensity of change is quite extreme. And not only that, but we've got so many channels of information coming at us all the time. It's very difficult to concentrate on anything for more than a moment. If we think of the downside to social media and technology and what it's done to us, it's made our ability to concentrate quite deeply on one single thing at a time very tricky. Our neural pathways have changed. So I think it's being able to hone that ability to actually be flexible, to be agile, and to be able to deal with things that are the same but different at the same time, or very different things, and hold them together at the same time. So, ambiguity is a great one. How do we sit comfortably with something that's ambiguous? It could be this, it could be that, but I need to explore both before making a decision. So there's something about our own personal development and growth as human beings that we really need to focus on, because once we do that, if we can develop our conscious development as people in business, as leaders, and give ourselves the mental and emotional space to be able to know what's important, to know what decisions need to be made at a certain time, and also to be open to it changing without getting stuck in one lane, then I think those are probably the key skills. I know that in my book, I think I listed about 22 in detail. And through the course of my book, I use examples of all of those different skills all the way through. But one of the things that I never can say enough about is our innate ability to be creative and innovative. Because what does creativity mean as a human being? It means that we actually give ourselves the space to allow our minds to wander and to imagine a different world. And that doesn't happen if we're just constantly marching from fixing one problem, problem solution all the time. We need to create some space within ourselves and around us so that we can actually think and be creative and allow that natural human intuition to come through. And that's where the wisdom comes from. So I think our development as human beings, our growth as conscious human beings, probably couldn't be more important than it is right now.
Well, thanks so much, Louise Mowbray, for sharing that insight with my audience. I'll let your perspective about creativity now, but I'd like you to also talk about ethics and philosophy. Why is it so important in today's world of work?
It's so, so important because we get very excited about every new discovery as far as technology is concerned. And yet, at the end of the day, is it good for us? Is it actually serving humanity? And I think that a lot of people talk about being ethical, but what does ethical mean? Do we even understand what ethics are? And whose ethics? Your ethics, my ethics, the person next door's ethics? What does that actually look like? So I've actually written quite a lot about that because I wanted to flesh out the different options that we have with ethics. And if you think of, often we just think of the decision that we make today. Is it right for me, my team, my company? And as far as I understand the world, the context that we're living in. But we need to start thinking in bigger terms. What is the impact in 5 years' time, 10 years' time of this decision that I make today? And ethics is a guiding light. It's almost like a true north. I almost hesitate to use that expression because it's so overused, but it's something that gives us a guide. Is this the right thing to do or not? And I think when we're asking those kinds of questions a lot, if we're involved in technology, if we're involved in systems where our decisions are going to have an impact on people and communities, the environment, or nature, we also should probably stop talking about the environment as if it's something out there. Let's talk about nature. In some time to come, surely we should explore that. And maybe it's not a popular decision, but the right decision today is the one that doesn't cause harm. And I think that when we use that as the guiding principle, we also have to understand that whatever decision we make today will be lived out in years to come, but also the context of those years to come, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, the world context will have changed by the time we get there. So we've got to have some sort of vision, some sort of insight, some sort of big picture thinking where we can start to imagine, use that creativity and imagination and of those people around us to start thinking about, okay, well, this may be the world today, but as we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, the world can change in an instant. And suddenly our entire context changes. So what if the context changes? Could that decision today have a great deal of harm on people? And if the answer is yes, very possibly, then I think ethically it's the wrong thing to do. But this is, it's almost an inner development of our own philosophical way of understanding life and our own true north. And for me, it's really important. It's part of what makes us wise. And wisdom doesn't just come with age. I've met a lot of very young, incredibly, wonderfully wise people. I think it appears in all sorts of people around the world. So how can we foster fundamentally that wisdom that has an ethical true north, that has a philosophical approach to life, that understands that a decision made today doesn't just live for today or our next financial year. It may well be living for 10 years' time in a very different context, and it could be causing terrible harm.
Right. You emphasize the importance of context and also in decision making. Can you talk about why the environment that we're operating in is so important in our decision making?
Yeah, I think often we don't recognize, when we are part of change, we don't recognize how much we've changed. It's just human nature. And especially if it's internal change. But then when we look around at our context that we're in, we've got to consider everything that's going on. I think a lot of people make decisions in a vacuum. And I don't mean to be cruel, but not many people, in certain environments think of the impact of something on the other side of the world, or the trajectory of what's happening with climate, and how this decision in 5 years' time, and where will the climate be, where will humanity be, where will various different things going on in the world be. So I think we've got to take stock of our context, and also understand that context is constantly changing. It's the one thing that can completely throw all our plans out of the window. And, all these great strategies that we put together at the beginning of a year, by the time you get to mid-year, we could be dealing with a completely different context. If we don't adapt, if we're not prepared to be adaptable and treat that as normal, okay, we're constantly revising what we've decided to do based on a change in context around us, then I think we can be in a lot of trouble. And organizations that are not changing, and who are literally staying where they are, stuck to a static plan, are always in trouble. So I think we often talk about disruptors being external, but we need to constantly disrupt anything that's static in our business and have a look at it. Well, we don't need to disrupt it if nothing's changed, but we constantly need to, fully appraise the context that we're operating in, and that includes political, environmental, societal, everything, business, climate, you name it. What are the factors that are going on around me? And if the war pops up somewhere else, well, if we think about just the 2 wars that have happened in the last few years, we've got a complete disruption to our supply chain, and the pandemic, of course, but we've talked so much about that for the last 4 years. But if we look at just go shopping, the price of a basket of food, what was that price of that basket of food a year ago? And we can blame the politicians in our countries, we can blame all sorts of things, but ultimately it's because war creates disruption. The price hikes that we've seen in energy have gone through the roof. And simple things like ships having to go through the Horn of Africa rather than through, the Suez Canal have completely changed the price of a week's, shopping for a family. Sometimes I wonder how families are coping. So are we going to see a shift in that context? Sure. Will it happen quickly? Even if these wars end? Probably not. Our supply chains have changed. People are becoming much more localized. The pandemic has shifted things into a way that we're trying to grow locally. We're trying to support small businesses that are on our doorstep rather than perhaps importing absolutely everything. So how is that impacting your career? How's it impacting your business, your community? We need to start thinking of context in much broader and slightly longer term views, because then we can empower ourselves and the people that we work with, the people that we care about, with the skills and what have you that will support them to navigate, a shifting context over time.
Louise, you just authored a new book, Relevant, The Future Focused Leadership. So my audience would like to know, who is it for, really, and what are some important takeaways?
Yeah, Omobola, I wrote this book simply because I'm so passionate about equipping people with the thinking that drives the doing. So I'm a great believer that how we think, not what we think, shifts worlds, and our personal worlds, but also everything else. And when we come together, we have enormous power to do that. So I've written this book for leaders at all levels, anyone who understands that the paradigm of the old is done, but the change has occurred. We're in the messy middle. We're trying to figure it out en route. And just in my years of experience working with endless people around the world, extraordinary people, I know that there are certain skills and capabilities and ways of understanding the world, or our lenses on the world, how we perceive things, that really we need in order to be able to navigate whatever's coming. And so I wrote this book for anybody who has that kind of deep curiosity, who's looking for a way to understand themselves and what's going on around them better and make better decisions day by day and well into the future. And so that was the purpose behind it. The book runs through 4 different sections. Who am I? Who are you? Who are we? In kind of simplified terms. And then 5 key lenses that are born out of academia, but the point is to democratize them so that we can all use them in our day-to-day working lives. And I take people through all of that so that by the time they get to those 5 different lenses, they have a much better understanding of themselves, how they operate, the world that we're operating, and the context that we're all trying to navigate together.
Great, good to know. And I and my audience, we really wish you best of luck in your book projects. Do you have any exciting news or any other important projects you think it's going to be beneficial to my audience? You can share.
There's so much on the go, Omobola. So at the moment, I'm very much involved in delivering future-focused masterclasses for teams and organizations, and taking them through anything from 6 to 8, 10 sessions on how to build future-focused leadership for themselves. And that's incredibly, it's wonderful work. I'm absolutely thoroughly enjoying it. And the bookings have been flying in. I think a book definitely helps because people understand what you're trying to achieve. And I'm also in the process of starting to record the Audible for this book. But as I say, I'm almost reluctant to say that because I think one needs great courage to record an audiobook. But that's getting going, and hopefully it'll be out by the end of the summer.
Right. Thanks for sharing that with my audience, Louise. We wish you best of luck once again in this project and in the subsequent ones that you embark upon. Do you have any parting words you'd like to share? Also, we would like to have your social media handles and your website to learn more about you and your book.
Yeah, thank you, Omobola. So I'm very easy to find. It's mowbraybydesign.com, and I'm sure you'll stick it into your show notes. And on LinkedIn, I'm Louise Mowbray. And I'd love to connect. Feel free to reach out. I believe all good things start with a conversation. So that's my starting point for everything. And other than that, just to say thank you so much for hosting such an important show focused on how we can develop ourselves, how we can actually navigate the future with more ease. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you once again, Louise Mowbray. You're the founder of Mowbray by Design, and now you focus on the future-focused leadership consultancy, and you specialize in the future of work and the future of leadership. Now, this is some of the important discussions we need to be having at such a dynamic time as this, especially talking about the future of leadership and also of work. Thank you once again for sharing your thoughts on today's show with my audience. We wish you best of luck once again. Now, if you'd like to catch up any missed episodes of the show, you can do so on any podcast cross-promotion platforms that you bump into online, or any podcast distribution platforms you bump online. You can just search for Louise Omobola Stephen, and you have an amazing time listening to disrupting mindset conversations from thought leaders, experts, and professionals on topics of personal development and self-improvement. Remember, change can only happen when you're willing and ready to embrace change. Till I come your way, I need to stay safe and talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Louise, for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Omobola. Thank you so much for the great questions. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Okay. So
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.